Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords. First of all, I have some, from the point of view of my cat, some tragic news. There's another dog. They used to be the queens of this whole, like, apartment block or co-op block. I don't know how to call it. It's not. I don't live in an apartment. I live in a series of houses that are in this kind of little space in the center of a city block. Okay, it's a very typical thing in this neighborhood where I live in. And at one point, they were like the only animals, or the only pets, anyways, that occupied that space, right? So they were the queens of the whole common space, right? And then one of my neighbors got a little cat, and so that's okay because they would chase it around. And then one of my neighbors got a dog, and that's when everything went terribly for them because suddenly they were like, they had to be constantly on watch. And now my next door neighbor has got a dog, and they're even more troubled by it, you know. So you know, the world is suddenly not theirs to control, and that's actually kind of topical to what we're talking about here, because today I'm going to talk to you about the latest news about the kind of new TSR company that, you know, those of you who are old gamers know that TSR used to be the company that published Dungeons & Dragons. It went bankrupt, was sold. The rights to Dungeons & Dragons were sold to Wizards of the Coast, and TSR disappeared. Now, today, or I mean last year really, I think it was, a couple of people, including Ernie Gygax, one of Gary Gygax's sons, and a guy named Justin Lanasa, bought up the trademark for TSR when it became available and claimed that they're going to resuscitate the TSR, right? And so far they've produced 0 books, an enormous amount of controversy, and a little museum/shop in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So that's their contribution. And until they produce actual gaming products, and I get to see those products and, you know, review them and give my opinion of them, I'm not going to judge one way or the other about them as a company, right? I have doubts about Ernie Gygax, you know, using the Gygax name, the company using the TSR logo and name as a way to just bank on pure nostalgia. And I've said that before. But none of that is justifiable, is sufficient to justify the attacks on TSR by the SJWs in gaming. And they've just been massive, right? From the very beginning, they've gone after Ernie Gygax, they've gone after Justin Lanasa, they've gone after TSR as a concept, they've gone after old school gaming, and in very vicious ways, right? So, the latest news. Now, some of you might have already heard about this, but if you have, don't change your channel just yet, because I've got a perspective on this that I think nobody else has covered so far. So it could be worth your while. But first I got to give you the basics, right? TSR is planning to do a kind of event/convention in that little hobby shop, dungeon/museum/bookstore club thing that they've set up in Lake Geneva, which seems to be really, to me, the main agenda of this company, of TSR. It's not really, like, I'm sure they want to publish games. They so far have failed to do so, but they're I think the real thing, especially for Ernie Gygax, is to have that little shop and that museum and that place where, you know, people can gather and you know, kind of honor his dad and play some good old-fashioned games in a place where nobody's going to be, like, you know, having other agendas. And I think that's perfectly fine, right? That's great. And so they're having a kind of an event there, and they've gotten some sponsors. They're trying to make it a big event, like a sort of like a con, and TSR con or whatever. And the people that they have listed now as sponsors of this event all received emails from, like, anonymous fake email accounts, right? That were basically threatening letters. And I'm gonna tell you what they are. Now, again, you might have heard all this already because I know that other people have covered it, you know, including Clownfish and people like that. But hang on, because I think there's a part in this analysis that people aren't quite getting, which is actually a really good side to the story. So what these sponsors were sent letters that said, "You don't know us, and this email is being sent via an encrypted and trackless manner. We're trying to do you a favor. You may think about staying away from TSR. They will bring new and upcoming game companies like you down. We see you are on their flyer for their event in March, which has been moved to that date only to suck off money off GaryCon. We suggest you do not go. You do not want us to get on Twitter and begin talking about Wizards Tower." That's the name of this. I assume blank there for whatever other company they sent this to. "Be smart. Just Lanasa, the CEO," I think that was meant to be Jason Lanasa, "has a very checkered past. See links below." And the links are to some articles. Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern really hates this guy. Has made some posts about it. He's very dubious about him. He thinks he's a con artist or someone just looking to make money off gamers. But I mean, that was pretty much every owner of TSR after Gygax, right? That was pretty. So anyway, first of all, note that they're worried about sucking money off GaryCon. That'll be important later. They claim to have support of many old player names and from the old days like Deinhard, Otis K, and they do not. They went on a video vlog, the evil DM, who is himself a TSR paid thing. TSR pays him huge money to make those interviews and, of course, never talk or dig too deep into the real issues. Now, my first thought when I heard that is, oh, that's really surprising. And second is, why aren't they paying me huge money, right? But, my second thought after that was, no, that does not sound like the evil DM, right? The evil DM is a guy I've had a lot of interest in. I was on his show like a week ago, the Evil DM's YouTube channel. I was a guest star. And you guys know when I do reviews, whenever I do book reviews, I'm always super transparent to point out if the book that I'm reviewing, the company or the guy who wrote it, have any kind of a financial connection to me, right? So there might be a book that has no financial connection, in which case I will make it very clear these people have no financial connection to me. Or it might be, if it's a book that I helped write, I will say so. If it's a book that is just by a company that has published one of my books, like let's say, Press isn't, that's Spectre Press. I don't have that. Let's say Spectre Press did a product that wasn't mine, right? But they sent it to me, and I were to review it. Then I would say, this isn't my book. I'd make no money from this book, but Spectre Press is published, is in charge of selling anyways, 100 of my products, right? So keep that in mind. I don't think it'll affect my impartiality in judging this product, but keep it in mind, right? And I cannot imagine that the evil DM would be taking money, basically payola from TSR, but pretending that he's just an independent interviewer. So I actually contacted him after I saw this, and I asked him, and he has told me that under no circumstance, he has no money connection of any kind. He has taken no money. He has no financial link with Justin Lanasa or TSR, right? He has had him on his show. He's interviewed him. In fact, Lanasa, when he went to repudiate these letters, went to the evil DM again, right? But he said there's no financial connection. So if there is, clearly the guy's a horrific freaking liar. But I'm going to choose to believe the evil DM rather than, the anonymous SJW sending this thing, right? And they say, well, this is your decision, but if you choose to side with, work with, or go to the event, you will be considered the enemy out there of those who stand for trans rights, inclusiveness, and gaming. You will sadly understand what it can be like to be the current thing on Twitter and social media in general. Be smart. Back away from them now. And there's some various links there from Tenkar's Tavern and a couple of local news articles about Justin Lanasa's attempted political election race that he did not win. And then they say, we do not want to destroy your business on Twitter and beyond. However, we cannot allow TSR to gain creatives and such. So, it's a very shocking letter. You can imagine the reactions of some of these people who were sent it. But here is a thing that I think a lot of people have missed, right? Is that, for example, the company that got this letter in particular, right, Wizard's Tower, immediately took the correct actions. They contacted people, those people contacted me, other people contacted other people, the Evil DM was contacted, Lanasa was contacted, and everybody jumped on to condemn these letters and to go on the offensive. And that is a very big deal, because all of a sudden now, the SJWs were like my cats in a way, that they were there in this empty lot and thought they were the freaking cocks of the walk, right? They thought that nothing could challenge them, right? And then the second there's suddenly a dog that shows up, they're running for the freaking hills, right? Because, their Buster is very good at attacking, mice and bugs, but not so much with a golden retriever, So what has happened that would be different, because these types of letters are nothing new, I promise you, because not only have I gotten these types of letters, but people associated to me have gotten these types of letters with demands to disavow me. And in some cases it has worked, right? It had happened as far back in my personal examples as 2017 or so, Probably it goes back even further. So what's happening, or 2015 even, I don't remember, but right, basically from when I was from 2015 onwards, let's say, because there was already stuff like this right from the time I was a consultant on 5th edition onwards, right? Of people trying to disavow me, trying to deplatform me, get me disinvited to events, all kinds of stuff like that. And for a long time, that was a very effective tactic. Why? Because other than me, everyone was too scared to speak up, right? Everyone was too scared to expose this and say, this is horrific what these people are doing. These people are the scum of the earth. It's them we need to root out of this hobby, right? And because of that, they got away with it. They would scare people into silence, people who were afraid of you saying bad things about them on Twitter, right? Nobody fucking cares about Twitter now, right? It doesn't matter. You can say whatever you like about people on Twitter. Nobody believes Twitter's real anymore, okay? And now what you're going to get is, if you do say bad stuff about people on Twitter, other people on Twitter are going to come along and they're going to take your name and number, okay? Because the difference that has happened now is that there's enough people ready and willing to stand up to these types of commie terrorists, right? In order to make them have to now be afraid, okay? And that's a good thing, right? So if you're the kind of person that might be associated with this, and right now I think Gary Con and, well, pretty much everybody associated with the people who have attacked TSR publicly, and you all know who you are, had better be publicly denouncing these intimidation letters. Because if you're not, we're going to assume that you were part of the people that made them, okay? Beyond that, you'll notice, for example, how do we know that these guys are, commie SJWs? Well, it's very simple. You look at how their main concern was that this event is happening parallel to GaryCon. Now, GaryCon, for those of you who don't know, is a convention that's being made by another Gygax son, Luke Gygax, right, and the Gygax family. It's been going on for a few years now, and it started very much as what I think TSRCon is meant to be, a place where a bunch of old gamers were going to come along, play some old-fashioned D&D, right? And it for a while, as Gen Con became more and more politicized for several years, GaryCon was a holdout as a place where you went to do a convention about gaming, where it was just to play RPGs, and everybody was welcome, and you could even play, new school games and whatever, but it was a place to do RPG gaming, and especially with an emphasis, of course, on the old school and on Gary Gygax and D&D, right? But that is not the case now for these last few years. The the people running GaryCon have been subverted by SJW radicals, and increasingly the special guests, the panel, people who the SJWs do not like are banned from attendance or are disinvited as guests. And now you're getting, I don't know. I'm expecting that this year's GaryCon probably has a panel on LGBT something in Greyhawk or whatever, it's going to be some idiocy like that, okay? And so what is the reason that they're so worried about this TSR con is that's very clear. Whatever else, I'm not saying that Lanasa might not be maybe not a swindler. That's too harsh a term, but he might be he's an opportunist, right? Maybe he is an opportunist, right? But you can bet for sure that he's an opportunist that isn't going to give a damn what SJWs say about him, right? And good for him, right? So he's going to do his thing, and there is no way that these guys are going to be able to take over this event. And if the event is happening at the same time, what happens is not that it's going to take people away from GaryCon necessarily. It might take a few people away, but I bet you a lot of people will probably go, if it's happening at the same time in the same place, in Lake Geneva. You're going to have people that are going to be going to both things together. And suddenly, people the SJWs aren't in control, because people are going to look at the two things and they're going to decide for themselves which of those events are more fun and which of them are more tedious and preachy and oppressive to them. And then next year, they might just decide to go to only one of those events, So this is a big problem for them. And it's going to keep being a problem because people aren't afraid of them anymore in the way that they were. And now, there's other people that are coming along willing to stand up to this, because enough of us at the beginning were willing to keep fighting them and to keep showing that these guys can't actually stop you if you have a backbone, right? And I'm still, like I said, for me, the jury is still out on TSR, but I sure damn appreciate that they have a backbone. So good for them. And I guess that's everything for today. If you like this video, please share it. Please share it anywhere you think someone might be interested in or benefit from it. And share it anywhere where you think it's going to piss people off, just because. And you can like the video too. That would be great. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you want to support me, you can always just send me money straight up on Patreon. But if you want to support me and get something for yourself, I'd suggest you take a look at my products. Stuff like Gonzo Gaming, World of the Last Sun, Invisible College, which is Occult Modern OSR Gaming, Star Adventure, which is a system, an OSR light space opera style sci-fi RPG, or any of my RPG Pundit Presents series. The latest RPG Pundit Presents is number 106. This is 106 different little books, PDFs, right, for you to choose from, where you can get useful stuff for your campaign, but you're also supporting me when you're doing it. And that's what I want. I want you to be able to, I love you're supporting me, but I also want you to get something out of it that you're going to actually use and have fun with. All of my products are meant to be played and to be used and to be gamed with, and not to be preachy about any particular agenda. So, be sure to check all those out. Currently smoking Lorenzetti Poker plus Argento Natural.